So, you want to own a gold dredge. Picture a steel barge floating in an Alaskan river at 6 in the morning. A chain of buckets chewing through the riverbed, swallowing gravel by the ton, spitting out everything that isn't gold. 20 hours a day. It just eats dirt and makes money. Gold is trading above $4,000 an ounce, the highest price in history. At that number, rivers that weren't worth touching 5 years ago are suddenly sitting on fortunes. And you want in. The problem is, so does everyone else. And most of them don't go broke because the gold isn't there. They go broke before they ever find out. This is a business where one state made it a criminal offense to turn your machine on, and people still line up to buy one. Why the richest people in every gold rush never touch a pan. Getting into gold dredging costs anywhere from a weekend's paycheck to a second mortgage, and neither guarantees you'll find a single flake. The lowest tier is a suction dredge. Think of it as a heavy-duty underwater vacuum cleaner. A gas-powered pump sucks water, gravel, and hopefully gold up a hose and into a floating sluice box, where the heavy gold settles into riffles and the sand washes out. A basic motorized unit costs $2,500 to $5,000. Add a mining claim, which you register through the Bureau of Land Management under a law written in 1872 that still governs who can dig where on federal land, and you're looking at $274 in filing fees for 20 acres of riverbed. You carry the machine to the river on your back. You work alone, waist deep in freezing water, moving rocks by hand. If the gold is there, you might pull half an ounce in a good week. At today's prices, that's $2,000. If the gold isn't there, you've spent a summer swimming in a glacier for free. The middle tier is a small commercial operation. A bigger dredge, 6-inch or 8-inch hose, industrial pump mounted on a proper platform. Equipment cost $30,000 to $50,000. Add the claim, permits, fuel, camping infrastructure, and transportation to a remote river, and your all-in startup is closer to $80,000. You bring a crew of 2 or 3. You run the dredge 12 hours a day for a 4-month summer season. Your output depends entirely on what's in the gravel beneath your feet. A productive site might yield an ounce a day. A bad one yields apologies. The top tier is a bucket line dredge, a floating factory. A continuous chain of steel buckets on a mechanical ladder digs into the riverbed, dumps material into a rotating drum, a trommel, to wash and sort it, drops the gold into sluice boxes, and stacks waste rock behind the machine on conveyor belts. These things are massive. Some weigh over 1,000 tons. Building or buying one costs hundreds of thousands to several million dollars. Transportation to a remote Alaskan or Yukon river can cost as much as the machine itself. Assembly takes months. Environmental permitting takes years. One of the most famous, Gold Dredge 8 in Fairbanks, Alaska, ran for 31 years and pulled over 7.5 million ounces of gold out of the Chattanooga River Valley. At today's prices, that's over $30 billion worth of metal from a single machine sitting in a river. But getting it in the water is just the beginning. There are 3 ways to make money with gold in a river. Dig it, flip the right to dig it, or sell shovels to the people who think they can. The first way is the obvious one. You run the dredge and pull gold out of the ground. The formula is simple on paper. Cubic yards processed times gold content per yard times recovery efficiency. In practice, nothing about it is simple. Gold deposits are wildly uneven. You can process 100 yards of gravel and find nothing, then hit a crack in the bedrock holding an ounce in a single scoop. There's no drilling report that guarantees what's down there. There's no reserve estimate you can take to a bank. You're gambling on geology with a machine that burns fuel whether it finds gold or not. Small suction dredgers in a good season might recover 10 to 30 ounces. That's $40,000 to $120,000 gross, minus fuel, wear, and the value of 4 months of your life in a tent. Commercial crews with bigger equipment on proven ground can pull 100 ounces or more in a season, $500,000 gross. But the operating costs scale with the equipment. Fuel, hoses, pump rebuilds. A dredge chews rocks all day, and rocks chew back. The machine is constantly destroying itself while it works. And here's the part that changes everything. Gold price. The same riverbed that lost money at $1,200 an ounce in 2015 prints cash at $4,000 an ounce today. Nothing changed in the ground. The gold didn't multiply. The dredge didn't get more efficient. The only thing that moved was a number on a screen in London. And suddenly, dirt that was worthless is worth killing for. The second way is the flip. Under the 1872 mining law, any U.S. citizen can stake a placer mining claim, surface gold, the kind in river gravel, not locked in rock, on open Bureau of Land Management land. Same $274 filing fee. You walk into a river canyon, hammer in your corner posts, file the paperwork, and you now control the mineral rights to 20 acres of riverbed. You don't have to mine it, you just have to hold it. Now wait, gold goes from $2,000 to $4,000 over 3 years. A hobbyist who watched Gold Rush last weekend finds your claim listed on a mining forum. He's seen the show. He's done the math. His math, the optimistic kind. He offers you $25,000 for the claim. You spent $274 and a weekend. You've never touched a gram of gold. You just sold a dream. This is claim flipping, and it's a real active economy. Speculators stake dozens of claims during price dips, run basic soil samples or assay reports to dress them up, and sell them during booms to hobbyists and junior mining companies at 10 to 50 times what they paid. Some claims are genuinely promising. Many are not. The buyer inherits whatever is or isn't in the ground, plus any environmental liabilities, access disputes, and abandoned mine hazards left by the last century of people who tried. The third way is selling shovels. In every gold rush in history, 1849, 1898, today, the most reliable money flows not to the miners, but to the people who supply them. Equipment manufacturers, claim brokers, permit consultants, gold panning tourism operators who charge $50 a head to let tourists swirl sand in a plastic dish and keep whatever flakes they find, which cost the operator about 12 cents. The ecosystem works like this. The miner takes all the geological risk. Will there be gold? The equipment seller takes none. They get paid whether the miner strikes it rich or goes home broke. The claim broker takes none. They sell the right to dig, not the gold itself. The permit consultant takes none. They charge by the hour, regardless of outcome. Everyone around the miner gets paid. The miner gets paid only if the river cooperates. On Gold Rush, Tony Beets spent $1 million buying a vintage 1940s bucket line dredge and shipped it to the Yukon. The seller got a guaranteed $1 million. Tony's return depends on whether decades-old machinery holds together and whether the ground beneath Indian River still holds gold. That's not a business transaction. That's a bet with a very expensive entry ticket. Now the part that matters most. What kills you? First story. California, the state that started the original gold rush in 1848, made it a criminal misdemeanor to operate a suction dredge in any river or stream. In 2009, the state imposed a moratorium. In 2014, SB 637 transferred permitting authority to the State Water Resources Control Board, which set requirements so restrictive that no permits have been issued since. Miners sued, arguing their federal mining rights under the 1872 law override state regulation. In 2016, the California Supreme Court ruled in People v. Reinhart that the state has the power to ban dredging to protect water quality and fish habitat, even if you hold a valid federal mining claim. The Karuk tribe, whose ancestral waters run through northern California's gold country, supported the ban to protect salmon spawning grounds. Owner lesson: your federal mining claim is a piece of paper. A state legislature can turn your equipment into a felony with one vote. Second story. Tony Beets and the dredge gamble. Buying $1 million bucket line dredge was the headline. The real story was what came after. Transporting a machine the size of a building through hundreds of miles of wilderness, reassembling it in a riverbed, and then discovering that 60-year-old steel doesn't handle Yukon winters the way it used to. Mechanical failures, structural cracks, breakdowns that shut down operations for weeks while parts were fabricated or flown in. The dredge eventually ran, but the repair and rebuild costs rivaled the original purchase price. Owner lesson: the biggest risk in gold dredging isn't that there's no gold, it's that you go bankrupt fixing the machine before you ever reach the paystreak, the layer where the gold actually sits. Third story: the Amazon. Between 2020 and 2026, gold's surge past $3,000 triggered an explosion of illegal dredging across the Brazilian Amazon, particularly on the Madeira River. Thousands of makeshift barges appeared, operated by garimpeiros who pumped mercury into the water to amalgamate gold, poisoning indigenous communities downstream. The Brazilian government launched raids, burning boats and arresting operators. But at that price, the math is simple. The profit from one good week of illegal dredging exceeds the annual income of most people in the region. The boats keep coming back. Owner lesson: when gold crosses a certain price, law becomes a suggestion, and the environmental damage doesn't care whether you had a permit. Behind all three stories, a structural shift. In the developed world, suction dredging is being systematically legislated out of existence. Oregon restricts it. California banned it. Washington, Idaho, and Alaska impose seasonal windows and waterway-specific closures tied to salmon spawning cycles. The environmental argument, mercury remobilization, habitat destruction, turbidity, is winning. Every year, the legal window to operate a gold dredge in a U.S. river gets narrower. The gold isn't going anywhere. Your right to go get it is. Time to pull it all together and answer the actual question. Scenario 1. Solo hobby dredger. You spend $5,000 on a suction dredge and $274 on a BLM claim. You drive to a river in Oregon and spend the summer dredging legally during the permitted season. Good year? 15 ounces at $4,000. That's $60,000 gross. Subtract fuel, gear replacement, food, and 4 months of living in a tent. Call it $8,000 in costs. Net, $52,000 for a summer's work. Bad year: 3 ounces, $12,000 gross. You barely broke even, and you smell like a river. Scenario 2. Commercial crew on proven ground. You invest $80,000, equipment, claims, permits, transport. You run a 3-person crew for 4 months. A strong season: 120 ounces, $480,000 gross. Operating costs, labor, fuel, maintenance, compliance, run $120,000. Net profit: $360,000 split 3 ways. Respectable. But one mechanical failure, a blown pump, a cracked hull, can erase a month of production in an afternoon. Scenario 3. The claim flip. You file 12 BLM claims in a known gold district during a price dip. Total investment: $3,300 in fees plus $5,000 in basic assay work, soil testing to estimate how much gold is in the ground. Gold surges 40% over 2 years. You sell the claims individually on mining forums and broker sites. Average sale price: $20,000 per claim. Total revenue: $240,000. You never bought a dredge. You never set foot in a river. You sold 20-acre rectangles of possibility to people who watched a TV show and did the optimistic math. That's not mining. That's real estate with a pickaxe on the logo. A gold dredge doesn't care about the price of gold. It eats the same dirt at $500 an ounce as it does at $4,000. The river doesn't know what the London spot price is. The machine doesn't know either. The only thing that changes is whether the man standing next to it goes bankrupt or retires.